Around the year 2000, the U.S. housing market began to swell. Many people were ready to buy houses, or so they thought. Banks around the country were giving out loans to potential homebuyers indiscriminately, without even stopping to check if these people could actually afford to pay the mortgages they were taking. A few homes at first were foreclosed on, but soon too many people were unable to pay their loans. Major banks went bankrupt and the housing bubble burst. In 2008, the world plunged into the largest financial recession since the Great Depression. Until then, two companies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, had been backing up the mortgage market with some government help. However, as Senator Vinjamuri stated, in 2009, the government took full control of the two companies and bailed out much of the market, helping the country and the world out of the worst of the crisis. Contrary to Senator Vinjamuri and Senator Sathi, the $200 billion that the government spent on this crisis was not just to save Fannie and Freddie, but to pull the United States out of the crisis. Our country still lost an estimated $12.8 trillion because of this crisis, according to the Huffington Post. So just imagine how much money would have been lost if the government had not stepped in. So, Senators, today I strongly urge you to vote in affirmation of this resolution to provide support to the mortgage market. First of all, responding to Senator Sathi and Senator Vinjamuri's argument that government support should be ended, I agree that the government is taking too much of a direct approach in their involvement in the mortgage market. While this should be scaled back eventually, it would be catastrophic to remove support immediately, as the resolution entails. For perspective, Fannie Mae, or the Federal National Mortgage Association, was founded in 1938 during the Great Depression. That was nearly 80 years ago. Freddie Mac opened later in 1970 specifically for housing. Think about that. According to private research company Moody's Analytics, without government support for the mortgage market that we have had so long, banks would be largely unable to provide mortgages during any financially difficult time. This itself could cause an economic crisis. According to TradingEconomics.com, by 2010, 18%, nearly 1/5 of the U.S. economy and consumer spending was spent on housing. If this number decreases by even a few points, our economy would lose billions of dollars, proving that a lack of government support would be a huge long and short-term detriment to our economy. Secondly, buying a house is a fundamental part of the American dream. And without some government support on the mortgage market, loans would be less stable and buyers would have fewer choices to make in terms of housing. Buyers are even more safely able to rent homes because of government support in this area. Affordable housing as a safe investment has allowed Americans to climb the financial ladder towards success. Senator Vinjamuri states that private lenders should be taking more risk in taking this lending, giving lending and mortgages out to people who want to buy homes, as opposed to the government. However, they fail to understand that lenders are businesses. If risks increase for them, they will refuse to give mortgages to more and more people, causing huge economic crises because people will not be buying homes. And again, that is 1/5 of our economy. It is important to remember that limited support has allowed Americans to flourish. And while I agree that private investors should bear more of the risk, government-insured mortgages boost consumer confidence and in the process support the American dream of being able to succeed and own a home through hard work, all while benefiting the economy. Now finally, supporting Senator Kondai's argument that explicitly priced credit should be made by the government to borrowers, I absolutely agree. The limited government involvement in the mortgage market should be made very clear. By using the broad range of influence that the government already has, only the government can regulate the market in this very financially difficult time, as opposed to letting the private lenders take over this aspect. So overall, while the government's current direct support on the market should eventually be decreased, it is extremely beneficial as a backstop and regulator in the housing market. For these reasons, I strongly urge all of you to stand with me by voting in affirmation of this resolution. Thank you.
Questions for Dr. I keep saying doctor. Senator Irakam. Yes, Senator Irakam?
Senator, government guarantees can lead to lower rates on mortgages because of the risk that private investors would take for prices being put on taxpayers. This is not fair to taxpayers. What is your opinion on this situation?
Absolutely. You make a good point. However, because of the money that the government puts in, it makes up for more money than taxpayers are putting into the government. You see, people make housing as one of their largest investments in their lives. As I said, it's 1/5 of our economy. If the government didn't regulate this aspect and use taxpayer money to do so, taxpayers themselves would not choose to make this investment.
Senator Singh?
Sure, by making loans easier to get and by the government backstopping these loans, the lower and the middle class will get more homes, which will boost the economy. But how will the upper class benefit from this?
Well, first of all, we're not making loans any easier to get. People still have to qualify for loans. We're simply making loans safer for people who have them. People who get new loans will have safer investments than without government support. In addition, lenders will also be more available to people to give them loans, even if they believe that it's not the greatest investment. However, for the wealthy, is less important because we're not looking to benefit the wealthy in this act. The support in the mortgage market mainly applies to the lower and middle class. The wealthy has already shown that they will benefit from either situation.
Senator Irakam, by doing this, aren't we moving towards socialism then? We are not thinking of the wealthy and just the poor, because 20% of the economy is this housing?
Absolutely not. Socialism is totally taking over this government. We're not proposing any extra support in the government. All we're saying is to keep the support that we already have. Is that socialism?
Yes, we're moving towards socialism. We're not saying it's total socialism.
Absolutely, but we're not saying to make this any larger. We're saying keep this constant. However, keep a limited influence in the mortgage market by the government and do not remove it.
Senator Chilkuri?
Senator, why do you believe that the mortgage market needs special attention from the government, whereas other markets that were in the same problems did not?
Absolutely. Like I said in my statement many times, 1/5, 20% of the U.S. government is based on this. In addition, for 80 years, 1938, as I have stated, is how long that people have been receiving support from the government for mortgages. To suddenly take this away or to refuse support would be catastrophic to our nation.
Okay, very nice. Good. Wait.
Can I ask?